Alright, let's see what's going on in the world of Pokemon through Pokemon Home. So we had our first online competition with the Paldea Prologue, and only 60,000 people entered. That is a very low turnout, with almost all of them being Japanese. Awesome. Now, I do want to get into the Pokemon usage statistics for Season 4, but I also want to kind of see how this compares to previous online competitions, so let's check out the past battle records for Pokemon Sword and Shield a bit. So, for the very first online competition, we had Galar Beginnings, which had 231,000 entrants. Now, people are going to say, oh, you can't compare that to the recent one because that was doubles. More people play doubles, right? Wrong, because the Galar Newcomers was doubles, and that had only 100,000 people. So in a very short amount of time, like a month and a half, we lost half of the people that wanted to play in the online competitions between Galar Beginnings singles and Galar Newcomers, this like doubles, new Pokemon decks only kind of thing. Yeah, it was Generation 9 Pokemon only, so that doesn't count either since it wasn't VGC rules. So what about the first international challenge? 98,000 people as well. So about the same amount of interest for doubles between just like fun Galar Newcomers or trying to get into the first online competition for VGC that also rewarded championship points, but still less engagement than Galar Beginnings. Also, if we go to some of the ones near the end, it gets really weird. So we have the Global Challenge Spring Master Division, and that only has 42,000 people. So really no one playing near the end of Pokemon Sword and Shield, which makes sense. But also I hate Pokemon Home because sometimes it double taps if you're not like quickly enough. If we go to the international challenges, so Masters Division, just 304,000 people. I think they messed up the tallying and they just took like everyone that played for the ranked ladder and then just like counted it, because there's no way there were 300,000 participants for a 2022 international challenge. Like, that's more than any other one when Pokemon Sword and Shield first came out and people were most engaged. And even then, the Single Battle Cup in June of 2022, really near the end, only had 27,000 participants. And Season 29 only had 209,000 entrants, so I'm wondering if something weird happened where there was like an extra zero added in for those, so it was only 30,000 entrants. I don't know. Also, less people play the doubles format, so the way it's calculated to be the same is also wrong. We don't have enough comprehensive data to like do anything crazy with, but something weird is going on where it's like, oh, the first official competition for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, 64,000. Like, no one cares about doubles compared to like the end of Pokemon Sword and Shield where it was dead, and also just like turnout for events was abysmal. Now, if we look at the ELO for the trainer ranking, it's also really interesting to compare to previous events, because first place for Galar Beginnings, 1881, then we have 1879, and the International Challenge being the most difficult with an 1849. So not as much win over loss, unless like the rating and MMR is calculated differently. We actually can't see this person's win rate because you can't click on the trainer and see like their wins and losses, which is something you could do with the Global Link. So the Global Link had more comprehensive battle data of trainers, and you can actually like kind of tell what's going on in events more. With this, like, no one's entering, we just get some whatever details about it, and yeah. Alright, cool. So that's what's going on with the online competitions. Now let's see what's happening with the Pokemon for Season 4. So in a perfect world where people actually cared about competitive Pokemon, this could be like a weekly thing where we track where Pokemon are going and how the movesets are shifting around. Because this has changed a lot. Like, day 2 or 3, I remember Baxcalibur being the #1 most used Pokemon, and now it's kind of like shuffling around. Fluttermane like falling in and out of the top 3, Iron Bundle plummeting to 7th, and then some other Pokemon just having some weird stuff going on. So we can go and review the movesets. Also, when I was looking at some of what's going on with Fluttermane, it was Calm Mind being at like 2%. Actually, there was like a point where Calm Mind wasn't even rated. Now it's gone up to 7.5%. So some people are finding the truth. Terrestrialization, it's just like RNG shenanigans, what you're stumbling into. I saw 2 fire, like in a row, I think, or like nearly back-to-back, and that's only 14%. Most are running Fairy just to get the crazy amount of damage. It's like, yeah, Specs Terra Fairy with Moonblast on its high amount of special attack means you're neutrally one-shotting pretty much everything. So you're just kind of trying to run people over with sheer speed and power like that. Dragonite's just like the lame. Everyone's running Terra Normal, which is trash. Sometimes it's Terra Flying, which still isn't that crazy. So we can see like Extreme Speed, 70% usage. I saw the set that was Dragon Dance Roost, Extreme Speed Earthquake, Terra Normal. Garbage. It doesn't do anything. It takes too long to ramp up, and it's easily walled out at that point by any kind of bulk or setup. So yeah, like the Dragonite just kind of falling apart right there. Rocky Helmet, 30% chance, 17% chance on the Choice Band. So the Choice Band wall breaking, where you go like Terra Flying into Stab Terra Blast Choice Band doesn't even sound good, because like you have Flying. I guess it's better than getting walled by a Fairy type on just like raw Outrage. And then no Terra Ground, so we're not seeing the same thing that happens with Baxcalibur, where they all go Terra Ground, and then weird stuff happens, I guess. Baxcalibur, I'm not going to go down every single Pokemon, but just like the ones I'm running into and seeing interesting stuff. So 85% Earthquake usage. They all have Ice Shard, which means they are crippling their coverage, especially with like the Dragon Dance overlap. Then some Terra Blast for coverage. We got Ground Electric. I mean, Bolt Beam hasn't shown to be good since like Generation 7 at minimum. And now it's just like, yeah, these Pokemon's identities are super lost. And Choice Band falling down to 4%. I'm pretty sure we went up against Choice Band 1, because that Glaive Rush did an insane amount of damage to Dondozo. So my reality is, whenever I go up against like the most common Pokemon, whenever I see a strat pop up, it's going to be outrageously low usage that is designed just to counter me. It's kind of unreal. Some of the other ones, like, alright, Iron Bundle dropping off. What happened with the Encore usage? 50%. I think it was like 1 and 3 at a point, right? Now it's like 1 and 2, which is kind of crazy. Dondozo. Fissure better be the most used move on this thing, or else I'm just disappointed. Nah, you can't. Yawn has popped up. I mean, we saw the Yondozo. And I mean, it has like its own shenanigans for being like an anti-stall, unaware, shutting down everything. Because if they're set up, you bring in Dondozo, you yawn, they have to switch out, or else you switch in, they're asleep, and then like you just get to abuse the Pokemon that's kind of gotten set up. Protect, Leftovers, Rest has plummeted. Everyone's running Dondozo wrong. Alright, that's weird. Annihilate, I've been seeing more Stealth Rocks, which is 1 in 3 now. The Taunt Bulk Up set, which was always fraudulent. 50%, that's a thing. And I mean, like, yeah, that's like Annihilate doesn't get enough time to really set up, because it's running full bulk. So even if you like hit it once for that Rage Fist, a 100 base power uninvested move isn't doing anything. So it's like Taunt, you hit them because you predict the taunt or something, or you just have a Pokemon that can mix it up on setup and damage. And now Annihilate's hurt, it goes for Rage Fist, it does nothing, and then you just like 3-hit KO it, and that's it, because Annihilate can't do anything. So that's weird. Garganasalt falling out of the top 10 for Rotom. Moveset, Fissure at 10%. What is happening? I mean, there's also been like a lot of weird stuff. I saw the sub-stall recover, just sub, protect, recover Salt Cure. It KOs every single Pokemon in the game. It is the ultimate stupidest Giga Stall. Some Iron Defense, some Body Press. I mean, if you're running Body Press, you're just better off with Fissure. We're seeing some kind of offense on that Earthquake, but like no Assault Vest, no Choice Band. Ooh! I respect that Toxic Orb, because you can't get status, which means it's just a trick bait, to where they like trick a Scarf onto you, and then they get Toxic Poisoned. Same thing on the Flame Orb. So, ooh, Flame Orb also really nasty, because then like Meowscarada, which would otherwise be a threat to you, kinda, you can tear out of it, or you just, even as a Rock-type Pokemon with high defense, don't care about the Flower Trick. It tricks. You give the physical Pokemon a Flame Orb because it's common enough to have like some niche usage, and now Meowscarada has removed itself from the game, and Garganassalt's still slightly usable because, alright, you can just like spam Salt Cure and at least do something with that while switching out, maybe come back in, use that Choice Band to recover and just stall out or something. red card, clover. Yeah, so it's like everyone's running leftovers, and then we're seeing like the smallest amount of niche item picks to where like even 0.6% is showing up. I think the identity of Gen 4, or not Gen 4, Season 4 is just completely lost. Now, Mimikyu is the one I want to see, because I've only seen Pain Split, Curse, Sub, Mimikyu. That's actually like the super duper least used moveset. Half of them are still running Swords Dance. I bet you there's some like Choice Band out there, right? No? Wow, so there's no wall breaking Mimikyu. Then what are these things running? It's Life Orb, Choice Scarf, Bright Powder. I mean, like, Choice Scarf outspeeding Fluttermane, and then you Shadow Claw and one-shot it, I guess? That's what people are doing? But then why are only half of them running Swords Dance? Like, Swords Dance is kind of the 100% pick if you're just kind of going offense, but I guess maybe you just tech Curse instead. Where, like, instead of setting up on a tank, you just curse a tank, and then, I don't know. Again, the identity is completely botched. Destiny Bond, people trying to cheese on the Mimikyu with that, I find very low success, unless, like, you're going into a complete Timmy. Then, like, Drain Punch, but why when Pain Split exists? Like, Pain Split always gives you more health, especially in the bulk meta, but I find it very annoying that I had to go up against, like, that's the only Mimikyu I'm seeing is the 10%, 15% usage Mimikyu. Awesome. Roaring Moon. Wasn't Roaring Moon, like, top 5? Wasn't Roaring Moon, like, second when it first dropped or something? Now people are realizing how fraudulent the Pokemon is. They're all going Terra Flying. They're all trying to use, like, Booster Energy, Terra Flying, Dragon Dance, one shot into the acrobatics, and it just never takes off. Like, that is how crazy the game state of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is, where there's so much bulk in the game. Starting off with a +2 acrobatics on Roaring Moon's 130 something, I don't know its attack, on its very high attack and sweeping speed that then pretty much gets a Dragon Dance. It just don't. We got some Taunt, we got some Iron Head, we got some Jaw Lock, Crunch. I mean, I feel like the Crunch actually matters more for that defense drop in a lot of this. Like, you're either one-shotting it or you're getting bulked out and trying to, like, trade into defense boosting and stuff, so that Crunch could actually swing some kind of damage numbers, and if you get lucky on that Crunch drop, that could just win. Iron Head also for that flinch. So, I mean, like, Iron Head, if you're just playing to lock out an opponent's turn, probably better Iron Head into, like, a Throat Chop as well, because a lot of Pokemon trying to use moves like that. But Throat Chop just means that, ooh, you actually, nah, I was about to say, you do shut down the Skeledirge, except you don't, because all Skeledirge are running Will-O-Wisp. We can check that. So, you're getting Unawared. I don't know the Unaware into Booster Energy, because I think Booster Energy is like its own 30%. It's not a stat stage. So, like, you should just be KOing it. But if you don't, you're getting Will-O-Wisp. And then the Throat Chop doesn't matter because it's not going to be setting up Torch Song on you. And then Earthquake, Ground Flying Dark seems to just not work. Skeledirge only has Will-O-Wisp at 50%, which doesn't explain the 100% fairly common Skeledirge I've seen a lot of. And 1/3 on the Hex, even. And I've seen a lot of Hex. I can't explain it. Clodsire actually up there, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, it's just weird. You know, if you anti-setup, anti-stall the Clodsire, it crumbles, but otherwise it's actually, like, really strong. Velobolt over Earthworm, Pawmot. How much Revival Blessing is out there? 70%. But, I mean, I feel like it's so, like, overweight. I wish we had percentage numbers, because it's like, the top 10 is 95% of teams. So, like, when you get down here, it's like, oh, 40, you know, that's still kind of up there, considering it goes to, like, 200 potentially usable Pokemon. I mean, 40 could still be, like, 0.3% usage. Mousehold started off as overrated trash and has kind of proven to be that, even in 3v3 where it should succeed more because maybe they don't bring their Ghost-type Pokemon, or maybe you just have, like, a smaller pool of things to hard sweep into. Doesn't work. Cloyster actually finding some. Haxorus with that Mold Breaker can be powerful. Quavel. Yeah, I think at that point where it's like, if you go outside of the top 25, I haven't seen as much Glimmora. I've seen way more Roaring Moon, which does not explain the 24th to me. Good amounts of Iron Valiant and stuff. No Palafin. One Palafin? I don't know. And then, like, some other stuff, like Meowscarada pops up. Yeah, it's just kind of like the usage stats are so fraudulent, but anything out of like top 24 with Roaring Moon is then like someone's favorite Pokemon that they're trying to make work in like 0.3% usage or something. So it's kind of hard to pull from. But I just want to see like what some of the Pokemon that have been like giving me trouble are doing, like that Mimikyu. And it turns out it's not even common. It's just the game's fighting me with the hard counter move set that is barely ever used. And that's kind of why I said, like, Pokemon Home is just going to devolve into that. It's going to be, oh, really? It's got that move set? What are the odds? Uh-huh. Thought so. I shouldn't have lost that in 98% of games. There's probably something to take away from with this data, though. I think that, like, again, if people actually cared about playing competitive Pokemon, but it's just dead in the West. I did that video. People are mad at me for stating the fact that Pokemon is dead in the West, and I keep saying this, but because Pokemon's dead, no one is hearing it, that Pokemon is as strong as the community wants it to be. It doesn't matter how good or how bad the games are. If people actually just kind of want to commit to playing Pokemon, it would be incredibly fun, incredibly healthy, incredibly worth doing it, but all the cheating has harmed the scene, surprise, because there's never been anything in the history of mankind where cheating actually improves the sport or game and makes people want to play it more. So cheating has killed it. Also, just like the drive of competition in the West is completely gone. Again, like we see this with Tarkov, Fortnite, Call of Duty, where it's like all the top players, turns out they're cheating. All the communities erode because of cheating. If you haven't seen Goatmoth's video, there you go. You look at games like League of Legends, no one ever wants to try or give a damn anymore. And Pokemon's like a combination of all that. No one wants to try, no one wants to innovate, no one wants to actually like put in the work to play the game. And then there's just like too much cheating that's ruining it outside of that. And the result is, I have not gone up against an English player all season, and I don't think I went up against one last season, or maybe I went up against like one? I have actually not seen an English player in the last 50 battles, and that's all of Season 3 and all of Season 4, which is kind of nuts. And I did almost 40 battles in Season 4, and I think I did this in the last video too, where it's like, oh, where are the English players at? They just aren't playing. So it also means like the meta isn't going to have any kind of improvement, but because of Smogon, a lot of the English Pokemon players are just NPCs that are shit at the game anyways. And then that makes it to where like the environment is worse for the people that want to get into it, and they burn out, and there's nothing to grow. And I'm the only Poketuber trying to be a positive force in this community, and we can see that like, oh, by shunning Verlisify, Pokemon's actually dead. I'm that like influential in the scene. It's kind of nuts. But at the same time, it means things are deeply unfortunate. Tyranitar, Hippowdon, the most used on Houndstone. Last respects, some of that Shadow Sneak action. And then Terra Fighting. So they're just trying to like cover for the normal type. I run the Body Press if I go Terra Ghost, just to kind of one-shot everything. Like if I go up against a Pokemon that's resisting me, doesn't matter. So hard to tell like the win rate and stuff like that. 1/3 are running Fluffy, and the win-loss doesn't matter because like it's all just the top Pokemon because they have such overwhelming presence. And it really is a shame because Pokemon Home is incredibly useful and comprehensive, at least for the Pokemon battle data. Would be cool if we saw like percent usage stats, but you can still like formulate enough without that. And then I think there's still like a lot of bits and pieces to find interesting, weird new movesets on Pokemon, and then actually make teams that are very strongly anti-meta and can actually succeed very powerfully. I wish the trainer ranking was better for the online competitions and rank seasons, kind of show like win-loss and have a bit more peak behind it, but yeah, like this is fun, even though Pokemon's dead. Get some interesting stats, get some interesting conclusions to draw, and again, like you can be inspired by this, but again, that's just Pokemon outside of Japan, or really esports outside of Asia. There is no competitive drive, there is no inspiration. Everyone cheats because they're all Zoomer losers or burnout millennials. Awesome. But it's fun stuff anyway, so if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. Wait a second. Aw yeah, best Chansey moveset no one knows about.